This is the download from Sounds Profitable, your daily source for the essential news of the business of podcasting. I'm Gavin Gaddis. Here's what you need to know for today, Wednesday, January 29th. Before we get into our top story, I want to take a brief moment to talk about this. According to Pod News reporting, SiriusXM has announced a round of layoffs that impact podcast teams and Earwolf, with 100 roles impacted. With that in mind, we'd like to just remind our readers and listeners at home that Sounds Profitable hosts a free public job board with open positions from companies in the business of podcasting. We update it daily as new positions come in. If you're looking to hire or looking for a new position, we've got over 60 listings currently up at soundsprofitable.com/jobs. Now let's get into it. First up, podcasting, the real driver of the commute. Acast has published a new report on podcast listening habits during commutes, built from a OnePulse survey of 350 weekly podcast listeners. Of the top 3 activities respondents listed as doing while listening to podcasts, while commuting tied with while relaxing for second place at 48%. Commuting podcast listeners are 22% more likely than overall listeners to be very focused while listening, and 10% more likely to always listen to podcast ads. Next up, White House says it's opening briefing room to podcasters, social media influencers, and content creators. Press Secretary Carolyn Leavitt announced this week that the White House is now opening the press briefing room to, quote, independent journalists, podcasters, social media influencers, and content creators, end quote. Leavitt went on to explain the decision was motivated by Trump's use of podcast as a communication strategy during his re-election campaign. Next up, German podcast marketers and publishers. Audio podcasts are here to stay. A group of podcast marketing and production companies based in Germany have published a white paper that showcases the advantages of audio compared to video podcasts. The paper stresses audio's engagement and capability for intimate connection with audiences, the open nature of RSS distribution, and audio's ability to be lean and location agnostic during production. One important bit of context for this report is the fact audio content has thrived in Germany for quite a while. So much so, Audible had a German audio fiction production arm even during the period where Audible was not producing content in the United States, podcast-wise. While video podcasting, clearly, is a powerful tool, there is still unique advantages to audio-only productions. And for our final top story, Bog Standard. This is a piece from Ad Exchangers Optimizing the News. The IAB Tech Lab is eager to progress on new open RTB standards with specific focus on 2 issues: supporting connected TV ad infrastructure and shifting the industry from browser to more server-side focus. The tricky bit is getting everybody on the same page, as the article notes. Even if the IAB creates standards that can solve problems, for example, retail media standardization, there's not much in a way of enforcement mechanisms to compel wide adoption. Therefore, if a solution requires reconfiguring existing technology or significant change to pre-existing behaviors, companies might simply not participate in the standard, a move that then undermines the point of having standards in the first place. As for the rest of the news, Simon Franklin from Acast shares his thoughts on Tom Webster's recent article on podcasting drinking its own champagne, emphasizing how podcast ads about podcast ads help grow the industry. HIG Capital has purchased measurement firm Kantar Media from Kantar Group for $1 billion, aiming to play a larger role in shaping the measurement ecosystem. MediaWorks has signed an agreement with AdsWiz to be its advertising sales representative in New Zealand. Libsyn has announced a multi-year advertising partnership with the Jamie O and Mason Ho show. Podscribe has launched its new advertiser contacts tool in partnership with Zoom Info, and Ad Exchanger's Allison Schiff interviews Kepler CEO Remy Stiles about how consolidation of holding companies might mean more opportunities for small to mid-size agencies that can offer relatively small clients more hands-on attention than the holding companies can. Be sure to check out all the links to every article mentioned right in your podcast listening app or at soundsprofitable.com, where you can also subscribe to the newsletter version. The download is written and produced by Newton Shadowcotty, Brian Barletta, Gavin Gaddis, that's me, and Tom Webster. For Sounds Profitable, I'm Gavin Gaddis. Download us again tomorrow.